me ask you a question. Guest orders from DoorDash or Uber Eats or Grubhub at your restaurant, who do they belong to? I'm not looking to philosophically talk about who owns them, but I'm in real business sense, who has contact with that customer? Who has their email address? Who has their order history? Who has the ability to market to them to bring them back next week and make sure that they stay in contact so that if something happens, they can still get connection with them. The truth is you don't have connection with them. The platform, wherever they ordered through, is the one that has that connection to that customer. Every order that flows through that third-party marketplace is one more customer relationship that belongs to someone else and not to your brand. In today's episode, we are going to talk about how to pull people off of those platforms and get them into your platform so that you can continue to drive higher volume, higher customer satisfaction, and engage with those guests. For lots of operators, they are meaningful revenue channels, and I'm not looking for you to stop using them, but I am looking for you to consider some of the ways that you should be considering bringing third party into first party to drive down some of your cost, to engage with your clients directly, and to manage the customer's perception. Customers who order directly from you are more profitable and more loyal, and you can control that guest experience, which is a lot of what we talk about on the show. If you don't know me, my name is Julian. I'm the host of the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast, now over 300 episodes strong, as well as the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star, where we built the point of sale solution for multi-unit operators. If you've been in the industry for any length of time, you probably felt the squeeze of third-party commissions, 15, 20, 25% off of every order. And when they're incremental to drive the first-time customer, totally makes sense. But continuing to use those, you've got to be careful that they don't continue to eat into your profit margins and deliver a bad guest experience. Today, I want to share 5 creative strategies that operators are using to flip that equation and turn third-party delivery orders into first-party customers. These are not theories. These are things that I have seen people use day in and day out to very large success in their restaurants. The first item that I have seen people use is their packaging. You're having to package your food for third party anyway. And so using every single part of your packaging to make sure that you can drive them back in to your first party marketplace. It's package marketing. It is way too often they throw out, it's just got a logo. It has nothing about their website. It has nothing about jumping on and learning more about the brand. It might just have the logo and a receipt attached to it. Think about what happens when you order as a consumer out there from any of these third parties. You see the DoorDash packaging, you see the DoorDash logos that are on top of that. When you open it, you see DoorDash collateral shoved into the bag. So you're engaged with the brand and they're trying to drive marketing to bring you back to them. Are you doing that same thing when you're delivering these DoorDash packages? What some of these operators that we're looking for or looking at that have done this are putting in cards, they're putting in directions, QR codes that point them back to their first party delivering channels. The message in the card is not anything elaborate, but it's really one of those items that allows the guest, should they want to engage directly with your platform, whether that's to join loyalty, whether that's a discount to order off your next order, something that is specific to drive behavior in your marketing on your packaging is huge. I've even seen some operators go further by putting stickers directly on the containers or inserting cards into where the food is packaged with handwritten notes trying to drive, again, this behavior. Personalizing that to drive some of the costs out of the business and get those clients to want to engage with your brand directly are huge pieces of collateral that I've seen people do. The key principle is the delivery driver is working for the platform, but the packaging needs to be working for your brand. Every order that leaves on one of these third parties is a marketing touch point that can drive that customer back in and change their behavior for the next time they come. I would encourage you guys to continue to think about that when you're out there, drive something and then test and see if it works. And if it works, continue to do it. If it doesn't work, try some of these other creative ways. The next area that I've seen restaurants go after is creating direct order only incentives that will drive, again, the behavior. The idea that you're going to create not just a discount, but something. It might be an experience, it might be some other offer, something that is not available anywhere else unless you go to first party. It might be an extra discount, it might be an extra dessert, it might be an experience where you are talking and you can only get this on their direct menu. It's a limited time offer, it's something that you can't get through third party, and you can only get these items that might even be your signature items if you order from the first party platform. It does two different things. It creates incentives to drive orders directly, and it also creates a conversation. Hey, I went to go find my favorite item and it wasn't on DoorDash, but when I went to their website, what did that look like? I was able to get the favorite item that I might have wanted it. It's awesome organic marketing. It drives some of the conversation out in the consumers' minds and helps you as a brand to differentiate yourself and not allow DoorDash to be the exact same thing as if you were that first party ordering. If there's no difference between DoorDash and your first party, why would you, as a consumer, want to change? I've already got my credit card saved, DoorDash is there, the pricing might be just the same. So those exclusive offers, the exclusive LTOs, birthday offers, something unique and different that you can only get if you're engaged in the first party platform. And then back to point one, figuring out how to make sure that you are marketing that as part of your program is a huge piece. You're not just giving them a reason to engage with the channel, but it's something that they are going to want and they'll come back for more. If your direct ordering channel doesn't offer something different than your third party, why are the guests going to be able to want to change? I would encourage you guys to give them a reason to do so. The third is to make your pricing transparent. I think all operators out there have had to increase their price on third party because ultimately they've got to cover those delivery fees. So ensuring that you have a strategy that allows guests, should they want to, from a direct channel to have a different pricing than third party is huge. Most third party platforms allow you to charge a different price. I think all consumers at this day and age kind of know that, but the platforms that and the brands that are doing this are at least covering their costs on that. But why not drive first party behavior to a less expensive item because your costs are no longer there? Your direct ordering channel, website, app, you can charge what you might in the dining room, maybe slightly higher, but definitely not nearly as much as you would on those third parties. And so I would encourage you to consider your pricing strategy and let the guests know, hey, if you order from me, it's going to be this on your website. If you order from these third parties, why would you do that? Again, back to point one, you can even put that in your marketing that says, you know what, it's going to be cheaper. You're going to get a better experience. You do have to conform to the platform agreements that you've signed. At times, I've found that if you are too transparent, you can get in trouble with these third parties. So you don't want to do that. But I would encourage you guys to go look and say, hey, how do I ensure that my guests know that it's going to be a benefit to them if they order from us directly, not just from point two, but really point three that says it's going to be less expensive. They're going to get it quicker. They're going to get something different than they would have gotten otherwise. The fourth way that I would encourage you guys to adopt is to look at technology in a way that you guys can capture the data that is available from these third parties and track it. Oftentimes what I see is the order comes in and they just fulfill it. And obviously, they're not trying to give you the entire breadth of what it is that the guests are there, but they do give you some information. Sometimes they give you the information of what the guest's names is. And if you have a loyalty program, how do you use technology to tie those two together? You are getting the order, you're getting the items, you oftentimes are getting at least the name, sometimes you're getting the email address. How do you use that to triangulate and push that platform back into what it is you're looking for? And so I would encourage you guys to consider that. Use technology to your benefit. We continue to talk on the show quite a bit about AI. At least if I have the name, I have oftentimes even their delivery address or their zip code. You can use AI to pick the person's name and their zip code to figure out who they might be and try and use, again, these tools that are out there to try and triangulate who that guest is and consolidate what it is that they're doing. Sometimes you even have the last four of their credit card if you're tracking that in the POS. How do I take their name and the last four of their credit card to tie those things together? Without the use of AI, 3, 5, 7 years ago, it would have been really, really tough to do this. But I think as you start to capture what those data points are from these third parties, and then try and tie them to the transactional data that you might have, because again, the statistics continue to show guests are often coming into your brand as well as ordering on third party. So if you've got that data, how do I use that data to make it a differentiator? You may not be able to get all of the data that you want from DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats, but you can at least capture what they do give you and see if you can drive that. The other thing I would encourage a lot of people is to drive an engagement point back to point one on marketing that says, hey, scan this QR code on your packaging to tell us how we did. I know one of our partners at Ovation is doing that quite a bit and very successfully. One, it gets you direct contact to make sure that the guest is satisfied, but now you can tie that back to future orders in the POS for that person. The fifth and final thing that I would tell you that everybody needs to consider is to make your direct channel worth coming back for. It really is one of those things that says, how do I make it so much better than ordering from DoorDash, who is constantly out there? But at the end of the day, they have no loyalty to your brand. If your website, your app, your payment, your order flow, your customer communication aren't just as good or better than the DoorDash experience, they are going to win. Third-party platforms have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into making the order experience as frictionless as possible. You're competing with that. I would also encourage all of our listeners out there, go order from these platforms from your restaurant. What experience do you get? Go order from your first party. What experience do you get? Is it the same experience? Is it better ordering from the first party? Because again, guests are going to do what's best for them, not necessarily to your brand. Even if they're the most loyal guests, they're oftentimes going to order from these platforms because they've made it easier. So I would tell you, the operators that I see that are out there that are winning this first party conversion are the ones that are not just yelling at customers, hey, go direct, but they're delivering a clean, branded experience that drives a better guest experience, confirmation emails, order tracking, and re-engagement. They're delivering huge value that's keeping the customers that they have back to those direct channels. If the guest finds it harder to order from your direct channel than they do from these third parties, you're never going to win them for the long term. So let's recap and bring it all together. These third-party platforms are hugely valuable for customer engagement. They're hugely valuable for discovery, but every single guest that orders from those platforms and stays on them forever are not continuing to build your business. And so the encouragement is to look at these 5 strategies that I'm going to recap right now to make sure that you are in the place to be able to drive these people back to being your customers, not customers of these platforms. The first is make all of your packaging so marketable, QR codes, inserts into the bags, things that are driving the knowledge and the awareness that they can come back. Second is create direct-only incentives. Make sure that they understand that if they come direct, they have the opportunity to have a different experience. Third is to differentiate your pricing. Again, be careful on the agreements that you have in place, but make sure that your pricing is transparent. Because if they understand that they can get value, and that value might be in just price by going direct, they will do that. Fourth is using technology to capture the data that you have and then tie it together. Again, we've talked a lot about AI and how AI continues to accelerate these things. Take the data that you have, put it into some form of a database, a spreadsheet, some way to be able to triangulate that back. And the fifth and final thing is to make sure that your direct channel is as good, if not better, than these third parties, because the consumer is going to do what the consumer wants to do, regardless of what your incentives are. None of these are going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars to do, but they do require you to be intentional. Like most things that we talk about on the show, if you do not decide to go after this problem and solve for it, you will be left behind. These brands and these products out there that are running third parties continue to invest millions of dollars every year to drive that customer to want to engage with them. If you're a multi-unit operator and want to talk to somebody about how to solve this problem in some of the ways that we continue to see, I'd love to continue that conversation. Head over to restauranttechnologyguys.com and put an inquiry in, or you can also find me at cbsnorthstar.com, where you can engage with somebody on our team. If today's episode gave you something useful and you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Please also share it with some of your other operators that are struggling with this, and make it a great day.